So historically, a board structure's included a deputy chair, but more often I'm now seeing that there's no deputy chair on a board. So why is this so? Well, if you look historically at what a deputy chair did, there's probably 4 key functions. First one, the obvious one, is to act in the chair's stead when they're not available. The second one is part of board succession planning, perhaps the chair in waiting. The third one is to be a sounding board for the chair, particularly in between board meetings. And the fourth one is to help with stakeholder engagement, particularly on boards where there's a lot of representative activities required by the chair, and it helps to spread that workload and availability. So why are some boards now not looking at having a deputy chair? Well, I think there's a few reasons. One of them is some of the boards I've worked with have found that actually it's just a title, and so it's not really bringing about any real contribution to the board, and so why have it? In some boards it's actually also got some extra remuneration attached to it. Typically we see a loading of about another 50% of a base director fee for a deputy chair, and so there's a cost-benefit equation. But thirdly, and I think the real reason, is more flexibility. So if you don't have a deputy chair, what it does mean is that the chair can provide different directors with board leadership opportunities in their absence. And that's really good for development and succession planning. I think also we've got more complex committee structures these days, and so the chairs of committees perhaps are more the sounding board for the chair, and also more deliberate stakeholder engagement. So directors are increasingly under an agreed strategy, playing a broader stakeholder engagement role. At the end of the day, there's not a right or wrong, unless of course your constitution says you must have a deputy chair, in which case you should. But what is really important is that you clearly document the role of the deputy chair if you've got one, and also the expectations. And that's either in a position description or your board charter. If you don't have a deputy chair, then you also need to think about and document some things, and they're typically around the appointment processes of an acting chair and what the protocol is, and often if the chair's not absent and it's an emergency situation and they haven't appointed someone else, the protocol is that the chair of the audit committee would step in. There should also be clarity on board succession planning processes and clarity on directors' roles in stakeholder engagement. So maybe if you've got a deputy chair, you might reflect on what the role is and the expectations, and if you haven't got one, maybe reflect on how do those functions that traditionally a deputy chair's performed get performed in your board.